Hello everyone, my name is Adam from Trade with Precision and welcome to IC Markets Market Commentary. So let's have a look through all of the charts. Let's start off here with the Euro Weekly. So as you may or may not be aware, there were some major French elections over the weekend, finishing up on Sunday, where the far-right Conservative Party were rejected in favor of democracy. You'll see this as a trend around the world globally. And so this just explains a little bit of a gap at the moment. If we go down to the daily here, we can see again, just to remind you that we are stuck within a triangle kind of setup that's happening over here. The tensions are building up on both sides. We've got lower highs and higher lows, so leading to a breakout which will most likely occur somewhere between July and August. Okay, if this holds true to traditional patterns. So the markets will tend to range. We've got sterling here, cables. In other words, cable has now reached the top of its downward sloping trend line. And again, this implies that if both euro, dollar, and cable, GBP, or sterling dollar are doing it, that it is almost certainly the dollar that is forming this triangle and therefore is looking for some kind of certainty, and it's going through that uncertainty right now. My apologies for fumbling over my words. So if we have a look at gold, gold is range bound at the moment. It has bounced off the bottom of the range and working its way up to the top of the range. So again, no clear direction at this time other than the shorter term being a move to the top of the range. Crude oil is also stuck within a similar triangle. Now, in all my years of trading, I don't recall ever having seen this, that's in 15 years, I don't ever recall having seen this form on the same time frames for so many different charts, and the implication is that it is really to the dollar. So again, we've got crude oil with lower highs, high lows. So what does it mean for traders when we have these types of patterns? It means you could trade within those patterns, but they're not really big, long moves. They don't really offer a great amount of potential reward to risk, and they're not really ideal. But then when we get to the indices, we'll have a look now, there's some great trends. So again, what we have here with the S&P is we are forming an ascending triangle pattern, which is likely to lead to a breakout. Historically, indices tend to go up more than they do anything else, and therefore this is likely to lead to a breakout to the upside. The S&P 500 in amazing shape. Here we go, beautiful. You can see though, just want to draw your attention to it here. We can see that the candles are getting smaller. We're starting to see larger wicks on top, and so it's running out of steam. What it's leading up to here is a retracement on the daily. We're likely to see a pullback this week. But for me, either this week or next week, any kind of pullbacks for me are buying opportunities. The trend is nice and strong and healthy in every other way. And so very happy for this trend to continue. The NASDAQ as well, same analysis with regards to the S&P 500. Really looking for any kind of pullbacks here back into the moving averages, similar to what we have here, looking for a nice bullish candle and a buying opportunity. Then we have a look at the FTSE. The FTSE is range bound. So let's just mark that range at the moment. And therefore, if it's range bound, yes, statistically, it's much more likely to work its way up to the top of the range and ultimately break out. Could it break down to the downside here? If it does, yes, then I would look for it to move down to the previous highs. But yes, I think statistically it's more likely to work its way back up to the top of the range and ultimately out the top. Then if we have a look at the DAX here fumbling a little bit. Could this be the beginning of a head and shoulders pattern? Possibly, but not likely. I'm going to mark it anyway. It can happen. I'm just not convinced at this time so far. I'm not, based on what we have, not convinced. However, should we break the low here, then we would be forming that head and shoulders pattern. And that would lead me to think that we're simply getting a monthly retracement. So if I change it up and go to the monthly time frame, we'd simply be coming back down to the moving averages. Okay, so just based off that, for now, still more bullish than bearish. We could also work our way back up into an ascending triangle pattern here as well. Let's have a look at the ASX. This is also forming a triangle type pattern. I'm going to use a different type of marker here, so it's a little bit easier for you to see. And you can see this is also forming one. And again, this should, more statistically, the probability is why it should break out to the top. It's at a beautiful consolidation. It's had a lovely period to rest. It really should be more bullish than bearish and therefore should break out to the upside. Very, very unusual. I've never seen this many versions of that across different asset classes. Okay, Tesla here breaking to the upside. So one of the things I was going to say is that now there's no doubt that Tesla is no longer bearish. So if I was going to comment now, whereas before I would have said it was, my assessment would have, sentiment would have been bearish. Then, my options are bearish, bearish neutral, or neutral bearish, neutral bullish, and then bullish. I would say now we are neutral bullish, meaning we haven't completely switched to a bull mode yet. We need to break above a few of these highs. We need to come back. We need to retest this 50 period and then find a higher low there and then continue back up. And then we are on a confirmed bull trend and we've returned then to a bull trend. We're not there yet. So this is bullish neutral, but it's definitely not bearish. Okay, so it still has to get past these. Could it change? Could that trend change? Yes, it could. It could go back down to the bottom and therefore revert back to that. That's why I say neutral bullish as opposed to pure bullish. Once it goes pure bullish, that means it has confirmed that the trend has changed. It hasn't got there yet. So for now, just going to call that neutral bullish. Let's see what happens in the coming weeks, but it's definitely not bearish. Nvidia as well, having had a nice pullback, looking nice and strong, continuing back up to the old highs. Amazon having had a recent pullback a few weeks ago, looking very nice and bullish, will continue to climb. And then really when we get to cryptos, they are range bound as well. We've started to dip a little bit below the lows of the range here, but it is still holding. We can see it is still stuck within those ranges. And so very similar behavior here to the Dow, for example, and to some of the other charts that are stuck within a range. So for now, the markets are generally still more bullish than anything else. And then the other ones that aren't, when we're not looking at stocks, we tend to be looking at almost anything else, tends to be almost undecided, forming those asymmetrical sort of triangles, or symmetrical triangles as well. So basically, I'm focusing most of my attention on the strongest trends, which right now is the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, and waiting for the rest to break out of those corners that they're squeezing into, and then to decide which way they're going to go. So really having a look also this week at a potential for a weaker dollar if we see that this, a stronger dollar if we see that this continues to head lower. So very much in the near future, likely to see some kind of a move on that US dollar, which will break all of these other charts out of their sort of coma that they're in, that they're getting squeezed in. There we go. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you very much. Have a great week.